episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I am one of your hosts, Sammy Kinnison, here with Angela Belford. And today we are joined by another dynamic mother-daughter duo, Denise and Javan Hamilton. Woo! I feel like if you are not a regular listener, you might want to turn your volume down just a little more than normal. We're going to probably have a lot of energy here today. Lots of laughs, lots of big, I don't know. It's sort of fun to be in the same space with other people who really get it and understand just this nuance. So we wanted to just take a moment to talk about, we've been talking about family and business and really dive into specifically mother-daughter dynamics and how it is together. So why don't I throw it over to you guys, introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you guys do. Whoever wants to go first can.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Denise Hamilton, and I am the CEO and founder of Watch Her Work, which is a digital consultancy that really supports women in organizations, professional development, and how we have to adopt best practices to tackle the challenges of the world. And my incredible co-founder is my daughter, Javan. Javan, I'll kick it over to you.
Howdy doody. I'm Javan, and I like to call myself a professional mom wrangler. So I'm behind the scenes doing all of the things and saying, stop telling people you can do stuff. I'm managing your calendar. Don't commit to anything ever. Yes. But yeah, it's been awesome. We're a dynamic duo. My mom is my number one, and it's great that I get to be around her all day, every day, harassing her. It's great. It's wonderful.
Angela, you have no experience with your daughter harassing you, I'm
Zero.
sure. None.
No, you'll notice that Sammy and I are not even in the same physical geography because I stay at home. She works in the office with her dad because we got enough Zoom time.
No such thing.
We have lots of conversations about her coworker. That's a whole different deal. Anyway, we actually get along famously and rarely. Most of the time, if she's calling me out on something, then I'm like, oh man, you're right. It's not, so we're very lucky. Now, I do not have that same experience with my actual partner who I'm married to. So I love this experience.
Well, and I would love to just hear more about how you guys got into business together. So you guys are co-founders of Watch Her Work. When did this start? How long have you guys been doing this together, and sort of walk us through the journey, bring us along.
Yeah, I had been an executive for about 25 years, and I had been the only woman or the only African-American person in almost every job I'd ever had. And because of that, I learned a lot of lessons. How do you navigate these spaces? What works? What doesn't work? What are the things that you're doing that may be sabotaging your success and you're not even aware of it? And so because of that experience, I became a lightning rod for mentees. Everybody wanted to take me to lunch. They wanted to pick my brain. I could have had coffee 10 times a day, right? And I was like, there's something here. Like, people want to exchange this information. They want to hear the real talk about what works and what doesn't work. And so I launched Watch Her Work. And, I think one of the genius elements of my relationship with Javan is, I've got this older woman's experience, right? And this perspective and the goods of what works and what doesn't work. And what Javan brought to the table is, how do we do it? What's the technology? How do we apply that? How do we scale it? How do we take it to another level? And so coming together to create this digital platform was something neither one of us had ever done anything like this before, but we just leaned in and we just watched a lot of YouTube videos and
so many YouTube videos
and figured it out. And we launched Watch Her Work. And then that expanded to speaking, consulting, and ended up with us working with organizations across all difference, because people wanted to hear, like, how do we do this? And it's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. We've been on what I would say it's like a never ending learning journey, right? To decide what works and what doesn't work, and also to have the courage to build a business that works for us. Right? There's a lot of pressure to build a business the way other people want the business to go, and it's like, what do we want to do? What do we want this to look like?
I love that.
Mhm.
Javan, what were you
too.
doing before? How did your
Okay.
bring you
So
into it?
before I was working in TV production, and so the concept of Watch Her Work was really like bite-sized interviews, bite-sized information. How do you tell your boss you're pregnant? What do you do if you cry at work? And my mom was like, I feel like you can do this. Can you help? I'm like, girl, that is not at all what I'm doing in production, but I can figure it out. And yeah, it's been a really fun ride, even going from what we originally started as just doing those one-on-one interviews to now. I mean, I don't know if you heard, she is a best-selling author.
Oh,
And
Woo!
Show the book. Show us the book.
And an international speaker.
Loving
Uh,
it.
Love it. Yes.
Always gonna hype her up. But
you
just
are.
like it's just been such an amazing ride and a really great learning journey for me. This was not, like she said, for either of us, this is not a space that we thought we would be in, but through a lot of YouTube University, we've we've learned how to kind of do this, and it's been going really well.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
she's being
awesome.
humble. She's being humble. She built the website. She figured out the interaction. She figured out self-taught, self-directed, has really behind the scenes built the technology infrastructure for our whole company. And now, as I'm doing tons more speaking and traveling and consulting, manages kind of like the whole back of my business. So she's being humble and meek over there. But I think it's a really important testament to the opportunity of our time, which is if you're smart and you're curious and you're committed, you can really learn these skills and these tools, and you can be incredibly successful in this environment that we find ourselves in.
I love that. And I feel like you guys just touched on one of my favorite things about being a mother-daughter duo is sometimes self-promotion I would say all the time, self-promotion is harder than promoting my partner.
Yeah.
I would tell everybody all day long how amazing my mom is. And then there are times where I'm like, I do stuff. I guess it's all right. Like, whatever.
Okay.
Like, it's fine.
And
But
then I will say, if you want a really, really great coach, you should hire Sammy, because I am always in R&D, and she will actually follow the methods, and she's a much better coach than I am, because she is very methodical and she has her communication background. And I actually heard it when the two of you, like Javan was like, don't forget, she's also an international speaker and a bestseller. And you're right, Sammy, it is a lot of fun to be that way.
Well, and I think that self-promotion, you've got so much more. It is a harder thing to promote yourself than it is to promote the person that you love and support and that close friend. It's not to say that self-promotion can't be done. It's just saying it's so much easier for me to tell people how amazing my mom is than to tell people how amazing I am.
Yeah. I'm
curious, for everybody, Angela, you included, what are some of the things that you guys love about working mother-daughter duos? Some of the best, I said the not self-promotion, but promoting each other. Any other things you guys think are just, this is the best?
Well, like for a very long time before my mom got remarried, it was just her and I. And so I'm basically like a weirder copy paste version of my mom. And I like being able to talk to her every day. I tell her all the time, I'm like, God forbid, if anything ever happened to you, I don't know what I would do, because at the slightest inconvenience, I'm like, mother, mom, someone cut me off in traffic. What do I do? Like literally for anything, it doesn't even matter. So what I really love is being able to kind of like tap into her wisdom on a daily basis. Even though sometimes I act like I'm not listening and that she's being ridiculous, I'm always listening. I'm taking it in. I can't let her know that I know
Denise, you're welcome.
She can't know that I think she's a genius. It just has to happen. It has to happen behind the scenes. But yeah, like that. I feel like that's probably my favorite bit, and also the little nuggets that I get just from talking to her and you're hustling on her phone conversations all day. I can go back to my friends and I'll be like, well, what you really should do is X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're brilliant. I said, yeah. That was me. That was me.
I love that.
It's
I love that.
awesome.
Yeah. For me, it's the trust.
Mm.
At this stage of our business, like I'm traveling a ton. I work with organizations all over the country, whether it be like a ExxonMobil or a Meta or a Heinz or all these huge companies, but also independent schools and colleges and whatever. And coordinating all of that and all of that travel is really tricky, and it is really comforting to know, here's my credit card. Do whatever you have to do. That my back gets tired if I stay on a flight back to back too long, so make sure to protect my energy and I think it's something about the trust that this person 100% has your best interests in mind. There's never any competition. There's never any kind of a challenge between you in terms of who's important and who's not. You both understand that mutual assured significance, right? Like you're only going to be successful if you really lock arms together and work and row the boat in the same direction. And my friends, I have tons of friends who are speakers, who are authors, who are in a similar space, and they have a revolving door of people that work with them, and they have all these horror stories of this person booked a trip to Aruba on my credit card, or this person paid their rent with my, like all of
It's
that
not
kind
too
of
late.
stuff.
It's not too late. It's not too late.
but just the trust that this person just 100% has your back is priceless.
Y'all are stealing all the good ideas, but for me, it's it's trust, but it's different type of trust in the when I am trying to noodle an idea or trying to figure out whether or not the logic of something that I'm especially in this personal development space where I'm kind of like, no, I'm pushing some boundaries of where and how and what, and for somebody to be like, no, that doesn't make sense. Or wait, you're onto something. Don't discount that idea. Look, let's cultivate it. And really having somebody else to kind of validate your ideas and be able to say, yes, we're on the right track. No, we're not. We are in the middle of a 3-year transition because our business is 25 years old. Wow. And so it's been a long process to kind of pivot and turn the ship, so to speak. And it's nice to have somebody along the ride when I'm getting tired and I'm like, when is this turn gonna finish, and when are we gonna, and then it's like, no, let's let somebody else to hold the vision with you. And then when she gets tired, and I'll go like, no, I think right before this I was going, but remember, right now you're just cleaning up some processes. You won't always have that much extra process improvement. In a month from now, this is going to be a lot better. And so we can remind each other of where we're going and how we're going to get there. So that's my favorite part.
If I could tap into that, I also think it's really important and valuable that it's cross-generational.
Yes.
It's intergenerational.
Yes.
I think that sometimes I will give an example and she will give me a complete blank stare. What are you talking about? And I just, oh my gosh, that's right. Somebody who's, 24 years younger than me does not have that anchor to that story. So I've got to explain that better or choose another example. And that seems like a small thing. But when I look at a lot of content that's produced by people who are my age and older, the disconnect is those examples and those concepts and how you think it through. So I think having someone with you on a regular basis that is from a different generation really helps refine your content and make it fresh and really current.
Oh, that's such a good point.
I love all those answers. I think this is really great. The obvious next question is, what's not fun about working mother-daughter? And so I'll invite some vulnerability here. What are the times where maybe it's a little bit challenging or a little bit hard? I'm happy to go first. For me, I struggle sometimes with the disappointment and the fear that I'm going to disappoint sometimes the voice in my head that says that's like, no, you got to push harder. Sometimes that does come from my mom, of that, like, no, I want to be better for her. And it weighs more on me to disappoint this boss than it does back when I was working corporate. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just go home and forget about it and move on. No, I care a whole lot more about what my mom thinks about me than what random coworker who I could quit this job and never see them again thinks about me. I think that that's beautiful and does lead to a lot of strengths. And it is harder sometimes the pressure is a little bit higher to make sure that I perform well.
That's good.
Ooh, it's good. It's good. For me, I think it's boundaries. I think there's an energy of like, oh, let's work on the curriculum for this retreat that I'm going to be doing. While you're there, can you empty the dishwasher? It's like, wait a minute. What are we doing? Are we working?
Switch the
Are we
laundry over.
playing?
Switch the laundry
Yeah,
over.
like there's it is challenging, and I don't know that we have the right balance, and I don't know that there is a right balance. Like, you have to find the balance that works for you. But sometimes I have to really challenge myself to say, that's actually not her job. Her job is this, and be careful not to extend the job description to be like, minion. Whatever. That's not like an appropriate deal. And so for me, and I'm going to cheat and do two. The other one for me is the responsibility of her professional development. She's still a young woman, and yes, there's things that she's doing for the company and for me and but I also want her to develop that if she didn't work for me, she could work anywhere. And she would have this incredible skill set. And like, you have to really remind yourself of that. Like, you're responsible for how this person learns to work and learns to interact and learns to be a productive employee or owner or whatever as she goes beyond you. So it's weird. It's like, we're an incredible team, but I always have to have in the back of my mind, I have to equip her to not be in this team.
That's good.
I would say, so yes, all of the things that have already been mentioned. But also I think sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to, like, I know my mom's a genius and phenomenal and amazing, and I 100% agree. And I tell her every day, I say, good morning, sweet baby, precious angel. Welcome to the world every day. And I feel that deeply. But sometimes it is hard. Like, obviously, like, she's phenomenal and she's a superstar. And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to have everybody around you constantly talking about how amazing, like, your mom is. And I feel like sometimes I lose a bit of my identity in that. People only know me as Denise's daughter. And she and I, while we are very similar, we're also very different. And so kind of like establishing my own identity, especially when I'm like she said, I'm 24 years younger than her. So I'm talking to older people all day, every day. And sometimes I'm just like, I just want to talk about what happened with the most recent song music industry nonsense shenanigans,
Pop culture thing.
Yeah, pop culture XYZ. And they're like, let's talk about this deep, meaningful thing. And I'm just like, I'm not my mom.
But did you see what Taylor Swift has done?
No, literally. And I'm like, I'm not my mom, and also she charges by the hour. So like, you're not gonna get it out of me for free. But yeah, like, I think that's a challenge. But yeah, like the everything that you guys both said, also like that pressure of knowing that it's just her and I like flop in a major way. I am feeling like my number one person. Like, my mom is everything to me. She's like the most important to me, most important person to me. And so, like, just the idea that if I really drop the ball and everything blows up, it's on me. And like, I can't. I'm like,
Yeah,
she is so.
I feel
so
you
guys,
right
yeah,
here in that anxiety thought. I'm right with you. Feel it.
And I know like a lot of people don't know this, but like I said previously, like it was just her and I for a very long time, but I was also a sick kid. I was in a wheelchair from 11 to 16, very, very sick.
Wow.
And my mom was my number one champion. So failing her is like, you know, it's just like, it's just not an option. So that pressure can kind of build up sometimes, but I also at the end of the day, because she's my mom and she is my like number one backer, I know that at the end of the day, she's always gonna like support me and like be there for me, but that pressure definitely is there sometimes.
I would say I feel the pressure, but in a different way, where like when we're traveling, whoever is the, office managery person of my existence, of my business, they've always had to like, go to the post office and go to the bank. And when I'm paying an employee to do extra work, I that's fine. I am always cognizant of like, I can't mess this up so that my kid doesn't get a paycheck, or gosh, she maybe could make more money somewhere else. So yeah, I get flexibility, but like, golly, if she were working corporate, she could be making a lot more money. And am I doing the right thing by her? And then if I want to take an extended vacation, does that put extra pressure on her? So there's a lot of that kind of pressure. And then the other thing is that by nature, I am the deep talker. And so like when she used to have, when she worked at corporate, she would drive home 30 minutes and we would chat about her work. And then I would chat about my work. And so every now and again, I'll have to just be like, no, this is like a work. This is not like I'm asking my coworker. This is like how we used to unpack things at work kind of thing. But because I love ideating and all of those things, I have to be very careful about like family time when it's like, nope, you're not my coworker at that time. I'm Lala. She has 2 kids. I'm the grandma, and I'm your friend. I also can't be just too much Lala. I also have to be mom, and she's my friend, and you know what I mean? So we can spend all this time together and yet still not see each other as friend and mom. And I have to be very intentional, especially with my travel schedule, to do those things and not just go, oh, well, we talked all day long, but we didn't talk about like life.
We had that happen literally this week when she got back from her travels, and she was like, oh, I want to come over to see the boys. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And then the boys were kind of starting to get a whole lot, and I knew they were going to have to go to bed soon. And I was like, I sat there at the table and I was like, I'm actually really sad right now because I don't want you to leave when I go put my kids to bed because I want to have a real conversation with you. Like, can you stay and just be my mom for a moment and not be their grandma? I just need to talk. And it was like, and then even when we got done, I was like, what do you need to talk about? I was like, I don't know. I don't have agenda
nothing
items.
And everything.
Just want to talk.
Nothing and everything. Yeah.
Just wanted to spend time with you because
Yeah.
you've been traveling and I didn't see you. And it's like, well, you saw me on Zoom. I'm like, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
So that's the challenge. And then you go like, people think, oh, you'll probably get tired of each other because you spend too much time together. And we have those conversations. Can you stay so that we can just chat? Which I'm blessed. We're very, very blessed that's our.
I think so. And we see each other every day. So we don't necessarily have that problem, but we do have like midday, let's go to Home Goods. Like, let's just break out. Like,
I want to smell some candles.
Let's smell some candles. Let's run on down here and try on. I've been
Go to
meaning try
Papacitos.
on. Yes, like you just have to make sure that it's life. Like we do this. We both could be working other places, doing other things, and maybe even having more financial reward in those spaces, maybe. But this is the lifestyle that we've built for ourselves. Like, if it's not free, what are we doing this for? If we're not free to engage and enjoy each other and spend time and have flexibility and to be able to live like a full life, what are we even doing this for? And I see a lot of people who are in an entrepreneurial grind. And sometimes I want to just lean over and pull their coattails and say, honey, you need a job because this is miserable and you're not getting the return. And part of the return for me is I literally get to hang out with my daughter all the time. And we have our own schedule. We come and go as we please because we are our company wherever we go. So when we look at the travel schedule that we have, the ability to travel together, is amazing. And I just wouldn't trade it for anything. I can't imagine. I can't imagine working a corporate job. I can't even imagine anymore. And that's no disrespect to people that do it. I did it for a lot of years, but I think I really love this idea, our take on the family business idea. If you have the right balance and the right boundaries, is magical.
I love that. So we've all done our kumbaya. Yay, these are the positive, here's the negative. But let's be real. There's conflict. If you're in relationship with a human, we're going to have some conflict. So what are some tips and tricks that you guys have learned for kind of managing conflict? And was it real prescriptive? Did you decide in advance, or did you, have you just figured it out as you've gone along?
Well, we've figured it out as we've gone along, and we're all still figuring it out. Let's just be real about that. I think one of the things that I've had to do that's been really challenging is, acknowledge the fact that I'm a lot. I'm a force of nature, right? I'm this big personality with this big footprint and this big impact, and I have to work really hard to not dwarf or to suppress her personality, because she's more of a listener. She's more thoughtful. She's more patient. She literally, I'll be like, do this on the computer. And 3 seconds later, I'm like, okay, is it done yet? And she's like, oh my God, I just opened the computer. Relax.
It's like, can I log in?
I'm very go. And she's very, okay, which is why she's able to figure out all these technical things, because she has the patience to pick through all of the steps that I just I could never. I just could never. So I think for me, it's remembering to take a breath and to ask questions, not to be a dictator, to not be a bully, right? To really work hard. And, she worked, we worked very closely on the book. She was my scribe for the book. And so, if I'm saying fleshing out a concept, and she says, I don't know about that. Well, what do you mean? All I'm saying is like, I could do that, or I could say, tell me what you're thinking. Why is this hard? What is not resonating for you? How could I clarify that? Like that, I had to really work on that. And I think it made the book 100% better, because again, it's this intergenerational perspective in real time on these concepts. But I won't get that if I just shove all of my ideas. If my idea is always right and my way of doing things is always right, we're not going to get the synergy of both of us. And the realization that I had to be super intentional if I want to get the synergy. If I want to get it done, I could just get it done. But if I want the synergy of two great minds working on something, I'm going to have to step back and manage kind of my energy and have that self-discipline.
I love that. Sorry.
That reminds me of the quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. Yeah. Angela, were you going to say the same thing?
Yes. I was going to say I got added to a nonprofit board, and I was a doer. I wanted to get it done. And I had a next generation mentor who said, you're going to go by yourself then, and you can't go as far by yourself as you can when we go together. And it's very challenging, very, very challenging. I think I learned a lot in that volunteer experience that probably helped me be ready to work with more collaboratively, I think, with Sammy, probably. It's hard for me to go, yes, I hear you. And I just despise, this is the way we've always done it. She came into a business that was 22 years old. And so there are things that we've done that didn't work. And so I can remember one time when I was like, I've paid a lot of money to learn that lesson, and I am not willing to pay a lot more money for you to have to learn the lesson firsthand. So I'm going to need you to listen to the lesson I learned and how expensive and how painful it was for me, and then give me your idea of how we can try to, I'm not saying we can't ever try something that we've tried before, but man, that one, like, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, I remember going, that one cost me a lot of cash and time and energy. So we're going to have to go real slow. And so, which then can, if I don't slow down and explain it carefully, it just sounds like we're going to always do it my way, or we're going to do it the way we've always done it. And I think probably the other thing that got me ready for Sammy to come on board is that we've had a pretty robust internship program. And so I've had younger people, and I've always tried to like elevate their voice. So I was accustomed to allowing younger people to question me. I know that sounds really weird, but like when you own your own business, kind of like my way's the highway. I really worked hard to get other people to like poke holes in my ideas. Like you were saying, like what's not resonating, what's not working. So that it was, I think, a smoother transition. Would you, I think, Sammy, I don't know.
So.
I guess we don't know what it would have been. Go ahead.
For me, on the conflict resolution question, how do we resolve conflict? As much as like my mom truly is my best friend, I also have to have other relationships and other people who I can, frankly, who I can go to and be like, can you believe that she's being so ridiculous? And it's like, she's not being ridiculous. She's probably right. And the reason I'm so upset is because she's right. And I need to let that steam off and get that out. And it is not as productive for me to let that out back at her and in her direction. I've got to have other places as well that I can rely on and that I can count on. And my friends who are going to hear me and then be like, all right, are you done? Like, go back and talk to your mom because she was right. And be like, yeah, whatever. Give me my moment where you just say, yeah, that sucks. Can't believe it. But that for me has been a huge thing in the conflict resilience and resolution space is I can't bring 100% of things just to her, especially if there are things where I'm like, no, I'm mad at her right now, or I'm frustrated that this thing happened. I don't think I'm actually mad at you often. It's like, this was annoying. That's it. So
that's hilarious.
I think for me, it's like learning how to, like she was saying about boundaries, trying to separate when she is being my boss versus being my mom. Sometimes your boss has to tell you things that you don't want to hear, and it can be very hurtful if it feels like it's coming from your mom. So trying to, and I'm still like working through that. Like sometimes like taking things of like, okay, this is feedback. I just have to take this like as feedback. This is not my mother telling me that I'm awful and terrible and she doesn't love me anymore and like throw me out into the streets. It's not that. I'm a bit dramatic. I don't know if you can tell. Just a scooch. Just a touch. I'll be, at the slightest inconvenience, I'm like, wow, okay, so you hate me. Got it. But
hey, you could be like me and you could have that happen where your mom gives you feedback and instead of talking to her about it, you write an article and submit it to Fast Company and Fast Company decides to publish it. So I did do that.
That happened.
That actually happened. That my mom gave me feedback and I published an article about how hard it was and how much I cried. So you can do that. That feels a little bit dramatic rather than, they say you should address your conflict with the person you have the conflict with. I just published it
I'm here for drama. I'm here for the drama.
Get a bowl of popcorn. It's going to be good.
I was super proud of her. And then I read it and I'm like, dang, man, I look kind of like this is sort of a bummer. I'm proud of my kid. And yet also I'm a little bit of the one of the points in the article, I went, I think your dad is the one that made you mad on that piece. And she goes, yeah, it was easier for the story for it to all be one person.
The details.
I know. Let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're here for drama.
In the most productive way. I prefer drama for others, not for myself. I prefer to just witness other people's.
Same.
So the podcast is not just for all of us to sit here and have like fun conversations about our business, but we also want to provide insight and, frankly, advice for other people. They're listening here to get our solicited advice. what advice or just sort of thoughts would you offer for other people who are thinking about working with family, thinking about working with mother daughter or parent and child, different things like that? Is there any recommendations that any of us would provide?
But I'd say it's not always easy, but it's definitely always worth it. I think that you will never have a coworker that will have your back more than like your parent. You'll never have anybody like anyone who will support you in your career in your career process and like growing and in your growth, than your parent, because that's kind of like what they do from the beginning. So it can be a little bit complex and difficult at times. It's it's always like it's the best thing I've ever done. Like, even though sometimes I'm like, oi. At the end of the day, I know that like she is always going to make sure I'm the best version of myself, and she gives me the space to be like, do this, don't do that, stop it, stop it, stop it. She gives me the space to make sure that she is the best version of herself, and I think that no outsider is ever going to understand me or understand her in the same way we understand each other. And because of that, no one's ever going to be able to like push us in the same way. So I'd say, is it a bit more difficult than having a regular boss, like you said, where you can say, I absolutely hate this person and I'm going home and I'm quitting and I'm never going to see you again. Sure, it's a bit more difficult than that, but I do think the payoff is much greater. And also the satisfaction of knowing that like I'm building something with like my favorite person on the planet. There's just like something to that. There's something great about that.
I love it.
Advice, Denise?
Yeah. So I think that we are in a really interesting time culturally, where what technology has done is it has replaced knowledge with wisdom with knowledge. Let me say it again. What technology has done, it has replaced wisdom with knowledge. And what the impact of that is that we have a lot of young people with a lot of great information, but they don't always necessarily know how to synthesize it, how to act, how to apply it, how to make it sing. And I think one of the pieces of advice that I would give to anyone who is um, entering a relationship like this is to talk about what your roles are and
Mm-hmm.
what the guiding principles are. What's the objective here? What does success look like for both of you, or if it's more than one family member, what does success look like? Right? If you never make more than X dollars, but you've had this like really fulfilling experience at work, is that okay for you? Or do you need, you need to know what your targets are. I do think that there should never be a presumption that you will work in the family business. There should never be a presumption that you will be in this business 5 years from now, right? I think you should always be prepared. And that's a strange thing to say. When I do my presentations to executive women, I use the phrase maintain a perforated edge. You should always be able to tear away if that's what's right for you. And I don't want Javan to ever feel like she has to work for me. I want her to feel like she's choosing to work for me and she could work any place else. And I think you have to intentionally cultivate that by continuing the efforts of developing the skills of your child that works with you. And you have to always keep the door open. It's not a cage, right? Like it's got to always be a door that they've chosen to walk into. And if any point they want to choose to walk out, they could. So that means still documenting your processes. Don't think, oh, Javan knows all the passwords. No, we need to have all the passwords written down, like just like you would any other employee. And that's really hard because you get really comfortable and really relaxed. And that makes you feel enmeshed not committed along the same goal. And those are two very different experiences. You don't want to cultivate a codependent environment. You want to cultivate an environment that is a good foundation for everybody to fly and for everybody to feel like this is where they want to be. So being very intentional about that and really clear about what each member wants out of the relationship, I think is super important.
Man, I love that so much. I would say, and I'm going to sound like I'm pandering to my own content here, but it is what I do on this podcast. And I would say everyone needs to do their own emotional work, because what we've seen specifically, in my book, I talk about the 7 core beliefs that really, I feel like plague a lot of people. And one of them being, I am enough. Another one being, I have what it takes. And if you haven't done the work to kind of root out your own negative beliefs, then the person here that is the closest to you is potentially going to become the biggest trigger. So if you've got some struggles with I'm not enough and some perfectionism, then nothing like you're afraid of being your parent disappointing you is that going to come up. We've talked on this podcast, and I've cried before on the conversation Sammy and I had, where she figured out that, oh my gosh, my perfectionism is it came from you, Mom, because you needed me to be perfect. And I'm like, yes, I did need you to be perfect. Yes, when you were 3, if you were perfect, then I felt better about myself. Then I was a good parent, right? And so if you haven't done that work, that will continue. And so, I think parents in general struggle with when their kids make mistakes, that they make it mean something about themselves. Oh, that means I'm not a good parent. That means I didn't do a good job raising them. That means that there's some moral flaw that is because of me. Well, then you put it in a business scenario and it just gets exponential. So I would encourage everyone to make sure that you've emotionally processed through some of your limiting negative beliefs, because man, you get into this situation and it is going to get real ugly really fast. And inadvertently, everybody's running, like when you start a new business or you're in a business, your fear sensors are already heightened. Your nervous system is already like, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. So it's just not going to take much for those to kind of blow up. And I think that's one of the things that people in family business discount, is how much, or they don't know how to navigate how much emotion plays into the business scenario.
I think that's really great. I would say have boundaries for fun. So very specifically, I think work could happen all the time if you want it to, or if you let it. It could be, we're hanging out on the weekend, we're on the patio getting drinks. Oh, I thought of a work thing. Let me pass off these to-dos or this thing. And it's like, no. It, in the same way that you don't, if you worked at a corporate job, or if you worked even a small business without family, you're not going to see them on the weekend to be able to hand them a to-do list and to say, don't forget about this thing. Pretend it's a second person. I will say, for me personally, and I've meant to ask this, I was curious, I call my mom different things based on the time of day. There are times where I call her Angela, and there are times where I call her Mom. And it helps my own brain shift. Am I talking to my business partner, or am I talking to my friend and my personal relationship, my mom? It's not always perfect. It's not always like that. But in my head, even, it's almost the switching hats of what hat am I wearing can be really helpful. And then have fun, vacation together, go to the family dinners, do the silly things as well, not just all of the business stuff. Because, we did a lot of fun things before I started working at the business. And then after a little bit, we sort of were like, yeah, we see each other all the time, but I'm going to go do dinner with other people or whatever. And it's like, no, I still need these fun times with family as well, not just
your husband was the one that pointed it out. Your husband was like, we used to hang out with your parents like at least once a month. What is going on? I haven't seen your parents in a month. And it was like, oh yeah.
I was like, we see each other all day at work. I forgot that you haven't seen them, and even things like that. So make space for fun and really make a point to have that part of the relationship thrive as well.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Love it.
So would love to sort of wrap up a little bit, but any closing thoughts, things you want to leave people with, leave each other with, just some, any last remarks or thoughts that have come up for you? There may not be. We kind of did the advice thing that kind of feels like it. It's okay.
I mean, I'll just throw it out there. Love my mom. She's spectacular. She's a best-selling authoress, as I like to call her. And just like everybody should tap in and get to experience her. I wish everyone could experience her the way I experience her. Yeah, that's it. If we're talking about moms, I have the best one. That's all I'm saying. I don't make the rules.
Good
You're so
grief.
cute.
Good grief. What she just did is a perfect example of what my last note is. Like, let the other person be a different person. She is so weird to me. I think she is the quirkiest, odd little person. And I'm just like, you are such a weirdo. But I love that. And I think one of the things that is really important about working with family is that you let them be who they are. Let them, wear Crocs, even though you think they're ridiculous.
Let's not do this.
I eat soup 4 times a week. She drives her
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
She's like, you always
She had soup
want
for breakfast. She had soup
I
for
love
breakfast
soup.
this morning.
It's
I said,
the
you're
perfect
unhinged.
food. It has protein. It has vegetables.
Isn't cereal just a different kind of soup? I mean, it sounds like it's still a breakfast food. No, I was trying to help.
Good for you. It's just sugar and carbs. It's awful. So yes, just let the other person be who they are. And I think sometimes, especially if your brand is IP, intellectual property of the parent, it's really easy to say conform. No, just let them be.
I think that's great.
That's awesome. I would say laugh. This man, life is too serious. Like, just when things happen and it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, like, okay, let's laugh a little bit. Let's stop taking things quite so seriously. I think that, failure is not real. It's fake. It's just deciding that, it's made up. It's a made up idea. And so you're not failing, you're learning.
Whoa. That's a big thing to just throw out here in the ending of the episode, that failure is fake. But sure, whatever. We'll just keep going.
I think the traditional societal definition of failure. Now I say that, and we have a podcast episode where somebody says, this whole idea of fail fast, don't fail. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Define failure maybe is a better way to say that. But anyway, laugh a lot, because this life is too fast and too serious. And then if I get morbid for a second, I think there are people that I wish I could hang out with now. And so whenever I get a little bit annoyed, then I just am like, it's a good reminder, like, I was in my uncle's family business. I would love to have some of his wisdom now, and he's no longer on this earth. So that helps me kind of keep a good perspective of, like, what's important is the relationships that are right here.
I think that's wonderful. Denise, Javan, where can people find you guys? Where can people connect and learn more about you, learn more about this book that you guys just got published? Is amazing. I say you guys because I know it's a team effort, and it's all of the things.
Team effort, 100%. A team effort. I couldn't have done it without her. You can learn about the book Indivisible at indivisibleNow.com. I'm so proud of it because it's about just figuring out how we move forward together. And I'm really excited about changing the discussion, and especially as we're in an election year. I have a personal new rule. If you say you love America, you're going to have to try to love Americans. And so what does that look like and feel like, and how do you do it, and what gets in the way? That's what the book is about. And The actual tribute of the book is to Matt and Javan, my indivisible team, my husband and my daughter, my indivisible team. And I think the goal is to just move together so there isn't the fragmenting and the pulling apart that we see so much. My heart is so warmed to be in this conversation with you all because there's so much family estrangement, so many people that aren't talking to relatives, whether it be political differences or the religious differences or whatever. And I just think the idea of lifting up family wherever you can is just so powerful and so incredible. I'm on all the social places as official D Ham, as in Denise Hamilton, official D Ham. And of course, feel free to stop by at watch her work and check us out. Awesome. And Javan, what about you?
And DeniseHamilton.co.
We'll put them all in the show notes. You'll give us all the links. We'll put them all in the show notes.
Believe it or not, there's another Denise Hamilton who's a famous author. So I couldn't get DeniseHamilton.com.
I need her to give up the URL. I need her to
give it up. I think we should do a mud wrestle for it. But anyway.
I feel you.
There's somebody else who has Be Freaking Awesome as well. And so our website is the letter B freakingawesome.com, just the single letter instead of BE. So I feel I would love a mud wrestling. That sounds like the best way to decide URL.
Yeah, because the check she wants for the .com is a little bit large.
Definitely worth the mud wrestle instead of the large check.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thanks everybody for listening. We hope you guys continue to go be freaking awesome.